Hey there, welcome to another Permaslug episode. My name is Jonathan, and today I'm going to show you the proper way to install Google Analytics or any tracking script for that matter in your WordPress and Oxygen website the proper way. So I made a video a while back that it works, but it's not the proper way to do it. So this is an update to that, long time coming, but basically we're going to take Google Analytics, Hotjar, and then we're going to look at Google Tag Manager for your website, and we're going to install that using the free Code Snippets plugin. So what we're going to do to get started is go ahead and install the Code Snippets plugin. And then what you'll do is just go ahead and click on Add New Snippet. Now, in terms of where I'm going to go, I'm going to click this one that I already have. And what you need to do is basically either just copy the text from the link in the description below to get to this point, or go ahead and type it in. Now, if we kind of dissect this real quick, you can see this is adding an action. This is going to insert this code into the WP head. This is the name of the function here, so this can be anything you want. It just needs to be unique, and it also needs to match down here. So if you change this, from PS Google Analytics, then you also need to change it down there. Where the code actually needs to go, though, is right here in this white space. So I'm going to switch over here to the Google Analytics screen, and we're going to copy this sample code. Now, of course, this is not actually the proper analytics code for your site. You need to change this to your actual identifier or copy the analytics code straight from Google Analytics instead of right here. But in my particular case, like I said, I'm going to copy this code sample. We're going to go back over here and just paste this in. To make it look a bit more clean, I'm just going to kind of indent some of this stuff. And so that is pretty much the summary of how you install your analytics in the head. So if we go ahead and take a look at the front end of our site real quick, you'll notice I have no tracking codes installed whatsoever. But if we come back over here, we can see our code snippet is set to only run on the site front end, which is perfectly fine. Doesn't actually make any difference if it runs in the back end. You save that change. We'll go over here to the front end and refresh. And now you can see I have Google Analytics as my tracking code. Not only that, but if we go ahead and view the page source, you can see that the head tag, the closing head tag is down there, and our Google Analytics is popping up in the head just like it's supposed to. So there we go. That's already set up and done. Now, if you want to add other tracking codes like, let's say, Hotjar, you can do essentially the same thing we just did. So Hotjar is a really cool heat mapping tool. They have a free version, and I use it quite often for client projects. So what I'm going to do is go back over here to our code snippet. You could either do one of two things. You could add an entirely new snippet and just basically copy and paste this, of course, just renaming this function. But you can also just go ahead and just, more or less copy this whole thing right here, stick this in, and then we do need to go ahead and rename this. So we'll call this PS. So we'll call this PS Hotjar, and then we're going to do the same thing, like I said. So PS and then Hotjar. And you can see those error messages go away now that we have a unique function name. And so what we're going to do is copy our Hotjar code. We're basically just going to replace our Google Analytics code. And then I usually like to indent it like that. Save. Then we'll go refresh on the front end. And now what do we have? But Google Analytics and Hotjar installed, so super, super easy. Now, of course, that works really well for anything you have in the head tag of your site. But let's say you're trying to set up Google Tag Manager. You'll see this first one says, put the code in the opening head tag as soon as possible. And then this next one says after the opening body tag. So let's go back over to our code snippet real quick. And once again, we're basically just going to copy this whole thing. Let's first of all rename this function like PS Tag Manager 1. And then I'll just copy this. Okay, so now we have our functions renamed. So we have PS underscore tag manager 1. Let's come back over here to our tag manager code and get the first part that goes in the head. So we just simply need to replace this Hotjar code right there. Simple enough. We'll just kind of indent that to make it a bit more clean. So now we have the first part that goes in the head, but as we already discussed, the second bit of that goes in the body. In your Oxygen Builder website, there is just a slight change we need to make, so we need to change this WP head to something else. If you're using a typical theme, you can add that to just, like the body section in the theme options, but that kind of defeats this setup. So what you can do is if you go look for the code snippet support in the WP plugin repository, there is a post in here called Add Script to Body. And all you need to do is look for this particular action here. So we already looked at WP head earlier, so we basically just need to change it to WP body open, and that achieves the same thing. I'm going to show the example for Oxygen Builder because that's probably what most of you are watching this video on. So we're going to switch back over here, and we're going to take this same code snippet that we just added. We're going to pop this down here. We need to make a couple of adjustments. So of course, rename your function. We'll just call this PS Tag Manager 2. And then instead of the WP head right here, what we need to do is go CT underscore before underscore builder. And then our description right here says adds Google Tag Manager code in head before the title. That's actually not accurate anymore because of course this is adding it to the body tag and it's actually adding it right after that. So after opening body tag. So this will help you kind of keep it organized. And then this is still accurate up here. So adds Google Tag Manager code in head below the title. This right here, you might want to just change to add Hotjar because that's actually what that is. And then this is not Google Tag Manager, this is Google Analytics. So this is just going to make it nice and clean for you. Now, back to where we were just at. So all we did was basically swap it from WP head to CT before builder. So now if we go ahead and save these changes, we're going to see all of that working on the front end. So let's go ahead and just refresh here. And then now if we open this up, you can see we have Google Tag Manager, we have Analytics, and Hotjar. So that's exactly what we just set up, all inside of one code snippet. The big benefit here is that it's completely theme agnostic, like I mentioned. So there's no risk of you changing themes or making updates or anything breaking this because this code is living outside of a theme and it's actually entirely outside of Oxygen Builder, which is also very ideal. So again, just to reiterate, all you need to do to add more code is basically look at which one you're actually after. Are you adding code to the body or the head? Copy the appropriate bit of code, and then of course just rename that function so that it's something unique and Code Snippets doesn't yell at you. So hopefully this has been a helpful video. If you watched that old one in the past, make sure you update everything. As you can see here, this is much more accurate. This is the better way to do it, and Google won't yell at you when you do it like this. So as always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in a future video.